In this model, we will look at how JavaScript is run and in what order JavaScript code is run. So when we are writing code, it's almost like building a house, right? There is a logical sequence of steps that need to happen for me to build a house, for example. If I'm looking at the high level steps, the first might be for me to lay my foundation, and then I can build a structure, which could be the walls and the windows and the doors. And then I'll put a roof over my structure. And then I paint the house. Then I can move into my house. Each of these steps must be done in the right order. If I mix and match or if I do things in the wrong order, then my house wouldn't be able to be built. So for example, I possibly cannot put the roof first before laying the foundation. And so JavaScript code is very similar. JavaScript code is always run in order from top to bottom. And so it is important to keep in your mind what order you want to put your code in. So if you look at our previous example, the JavaScript label, when I look at the script tag, essentially what happens is line 26 gets run first, then line 27, and then 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So it's always run in order from top to bottom. You certainly will not put the roof before laying the foundation, would you? No, of course not. So it's also important when writing code to think through what order of steps and what order lines of code must be placed. So let's quickly look at what happens if we run things out of order. So we will go back into our previous example, which is the JavaScript label example, and we will go ahead and swap the first two lines of JavaScript code. Then I'll save the file and test it and see what happens. So I'm back in my code file in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to swap the first two lines and essentially cut this line here and paste it just above the first line. And then I'll save. And then let's try and test. And so the HTML code still remains the same, so I can see my label. But now you would notice that when I click on the label, the pop-up that came up before in the previous example doesn't come up again. And so we have the right steps, but they're just not put in order. And that is why it's important to be very careful in what order you put your JavaScript code and in what order you put the steps.